Hi, welcome.
Hey, hi everyone.
Can everybody just give Brittany like a round of applause for this amazing, amazing book? I don't know if you
Oh,
can see everyone on your screen, but we've all just been raving about it. So
thank y'all so much.
it's it's a true honor to have you in this book club, and we are just over the moon. So everybody has lots of questions to ask you and things to talk about. The only one I'll say on behalf of everyone else is everybody wants to know how they can help, because we've all been so inspired by your story. And what can we do? What should we do? Does it even make a difference? All the little things we can do, does it add up, or is it just hopeless?
Yeah, no, there's always room to help make a difference, whether it's through the Girls Embracing Mothers program I have for girls whose moms are in prison. We are based in Texas right now, serving girls with moms in prison in Texas. But now with COVID running rampant through prisons, we have not been able to visit our moms since March. And we were visiting every single month. So it's been really tough pivoting our program to more virtual learning with the girls, but not just really having visits with the moms has been tough. So we've been working to put together birthday baskets for the girls just so we can drop them off, spa day kits, where we're including nail polish and spa masks the girls have been enjoying, and journals and things like that. And then we're zooming with the girls once a month just until things get back to some semblance of normalcy. So totally, if anyone's interested in helping us put together these little goodie bags for the girls, to just know that we're thinking about them, and we're definitely hoping things get some in some way, form or fashion, we can at least see the moms virtually. Unfortunately, Texas has no video visitation at all. So it's just been tough. So that's a way to help with Girls Embracing Mothers. Or if anyone is on that's familiar with curriculums or things like that, we are pivoting to a virtual programming. So we're always looking for some innovative activities for our girls to be able to do on these Zoom calls. We have our Zoom calls once a month, about an hour and a half or so each, and we've come up with some different curriculum as it relates to uh, drug and alcohol abuse prevention. We've had a group called Traffic 911 come in and talk about sex trafficking prevention, and also just empowerment, character cultivation, financial literacy, any ideas for curriculum for the girls. With the Buried Alive project, most of our work is legal representation, of course, for people in prison. But as they get out, we do work with different people across the country. For example, our cases are federal. So clients are getting out across the country when we do win a case. And so we work to put together reentry packets for them that include gift cards, toiletries, just things to help them take their first steps of freedom.
Amazing. All right, who wants to jump in and start asking some questions? Megan.
Well, first of all, Brittany, thank you so much for this book. I, I have no words. I stayed up all night and finished reading it, and I cried a lot during it, which is something that everyone said. It's pretty brutal to realize that this system, that while I'm asleep in my warm bed, this is the system that we all participate in. So the story is probably as important. Telling the story is probably as important as the work, right? So I just am really appreciative of that. I wanted to ask a little bit about the word that's coming into my mind is the boundaries of the work, right? So I'm a trauma therapist. So the whole book to me, I read as that is transforming trauma, that everyone is transforming trauma against a system that's just built to traumatize. Mm-hmm. And I was so I think the best word is overwhelmed by the amount of your personal energy. There's a scene that you write where you're on the couch and talking to other, it's all your clients. And I, as a therapist, I work with lawyers who are told all the time that they can't do those kinds of things, that they can't be personally invested, that they can't. And you describe another lawyer who's like that, who can't remember the name of her client or the details of his stuff. And I'm just curious about that. Like, you were young in the world of this, and it felt like this calling that you had to step into. And then towards the end of the book, when you really make the big decision at the convention, I'm just curious, like, what is that? There's the transformation process for your clients, but I'm curious about, like, does that feel like something that you had to learn how to do, that you just innately knew to do, in terms of, helping yourself with your own pain and experience? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes absolute total sense. And thank you for asking that. The first part of your question as it relates, or your comment as it relates to lawyers and not getting so vested. I think that advice is helpful for some people. And I think that it has to be individualized as well. I am not a criminal defense lawyer. I still don't look at myself as a criminal defense lawyer, so I'm not out soliciting cases. I don't have hundreds of cases at a time. So I heard a piece of advice from my hero, Brian Stevenson, when I was in law school, and he came to speak, and he said, you have to have an emotional tie. You have to believe with conviction in your heart. You have to believe in things you cannot see. You have to be able to empathize with your clients in that way. And that's the road that I take. I couldn't do this work and be far removed, because I'm just not that lawyer. I can see if I had a huge caseload, I can see how that is necessary for those boundaries. And for me, I wasn't taught about self-care.
Yeah.
And the vicarious trauma that is transferred, and I do experience that.
Yeah.
And I think it took me some time to realize what it was. And once I did, I was able to set more boundaries, getting more help of other lawyers, to train, because it's a catch-22. I know I need the help, but I'm trying to fundraise because we don't have very much money. And so I can't pay for help. And then I don't have time to train others, so it's just still just me at the end of the day. So I had to really learn with that aspect. For me, that came with slowing down.
Yeah.
And being more intentional about the cases that I took on, but the beauty of it is, I say often, and it's so true, but as I was working to free my clients, they were freeing me too. And a lot of those self-care practices that I learned came from them.
Thank you. I don't have the book in front of me, but you did have one line in there that was, something along the lines of, so sorry to misquote you, but like, for a Black woman, self-care is a radical act.
Yes.
And it just reminded me that there are people that I'm following on Facebook who are deliberately and intentionally demonstrating that, because for whatever reason, that is not something that is assumed to be true. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, thank you for answering the question, because I think that that's just like a personal question of mine all the time, which is, how do you balance your passions up against your real physical and mental limitations?
Great question.
And I was like, how are you human? Like, do you eat? Do you get to go on vacation? I understand that's part of what the book is about, but I appreciate you answering, because I think we all want to be able to give and to be able to do more. But it's good to see that you're well, and that it hasn't taken you down. Thank you very much.
Not yet, but it's because of what you said. Like, I'm growing and learning more of this practice of self-care. Had a huge victory a couple of weeks ago, and I really have tapered down, to really try to process that win and sit with it in a way where I'm not just running and chasing the next one. So it's definitely something that I am learning.
So how are you doing that when you are now trying to make self-care for those people among this group who might have trouble with the same? What are you doing? How are you fitting it in? How do you make sure to do it?
I am reminding myself of a few things. One, that I don't have to respond to texts and emails immediately. Two, I don't have to engage in conversations that are depleting. I can turn my ringer off on my phone, things like that. And really just saying no when I'm at capacity You know, there's been many ways that I've tried to incorporate the self-care even more lately, you know. But lately the priority for me has been those emails. Just knowing that I can respond later.
Wow, that was like, I feel like a therapist just like came out of the universe and like spoke directly to my soul. So thank you for that. Anyway, Francine, go ahead.
Thank you, Brittany, for saying that about not having to answer, because my sister said something to me yesterday that I thought was a jab, and I'm like, I'm not answering that. So you validated me. Thank you. Plus,
Yeah.
I loved the book. Like, I could not put it down. I just have been telling everybody to read it. I'm going to ask you this question, and I don't know, and because I look at you and I think, as a little girl, how did you have the wherewithal to make it through all the stuff that you went through with your mother? Like, I don't know how you did that, how you were so strong and dealt with all of that. And the reason I ask you this is I've been through addiction with my own daughter, so I've been through hell and back with her. She's fine now, but you must have had just something inside of you. Do you know, even like, can you answer that?
For me, I think it is something inside. You know, when I look back and I was truly reflecting on my life writing the book, it was very difficult writing chapters 1 through 5. It is very difficult today to read chapters 1 through 5. Not that I want to not face it. I love reading them, but I just get very emotional as I do. But I do think it was something innate. I also feel it was from my extended family, just this love. You know, I had a strong sense of faith instilled in me at a very young age. And so that was really helpful too. And I think another part of that, as I look back and I use a quote, this Nikki Giovanni quote in my book from her poem, Nikki Rosa, where she says, "Black love is Black wealth." And they'll probably talk about my hard childhood and never understand that all the while I was quite happy. And I really resonated with that quote because it was extremely challenging going through dealing with having a drug addicted mother, but there was just so much love in my family, in my community, you know, and I wanted to really share that in the book to just show, break this mold, if you will, on these just monolithic Black struggle stories, and show the multi-dimensional aspect of Black life in the South.
It
and
came through.
How, thank you so much. I wanted to show that we are complex people. We are nuanced people, and joy and pain can coexist.
Just like the rest of us. I mean,
Exactly.
you know, because I remember when I was going through addiction, they, years ago with my daughter, they thought it was a moral thing, or how could somebody from a nice family end up like that? I'm like, well, if you educate yourself, you might understand it. But anyway, thank you for answering my question. It was just brilliantly written. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Who's next? Alicia.
Thank you so much. The book was extraordinary. And I think love really is your superpower. And I fell in love with every single character, including you, but I fell in love with every single human. And it made me, I think this book should be part of curriculum, like a core curriculum, because it shows us, I think I'll only speak to America in this moment, but it's my experience that there is such a story we've been told since we started being educated about drugs and about prison and about bad people in prison. And I've been lucky enough to begin to unlearn that, but I think we can always get deeper in that unlearning. And this book is so crucial in that unlearning because it comes with such love, like, because you really, understand the human beings in the complexity of the human beings, not just the one mistake. So thank you so much for that.
Thank
And I
you.
really, no, please. And I really hear what you said about self-care, and I will just say, self-care wise, I was up till 2:00 in the morning last night because I could not finish, and I was like, I need to know that Rhonda's going to be okay. Like, I need to know she's going to be okay. And I couldn't put it down. Like, I had planned to go to bed early, but I just couldn't put it down. And when you talk about Corey teaching you how to meditate, do you still meditate? And is that part of what you teach the girls?
I do still meditate, and that's something that is a practice, that I have to remind myself. I was taught this remarkable art by a man who was set to die in prison, and just knowing that I do have time, to complete this. And we go to summer camp every summer in Texas Hill Country with the girls, and we do yoga, meditation, and it's a really a fun time. It's something that I think needs to be taught at a very young age. It's a great practice and form of therapy for me. And I wish I had known about it sooner.
Yeah, I just think it's such an amazing tool, particularly to be taught young, because it's one of those tools that helps in so many different ways. So that makes me really happy that you did that. Yay.
I have a quick question. Is the book club, is this the end of the club? Or are y'all still reading the book?
No, we read the book, hopefully, but we were supposed to have read the book, but it's not required. And then we talked about it for half an hour before you joined us.
Cool.
And that's how we usually do it. So we talk for half an hour about the book, and then the author comes and joins and answers all of our burning questions.
Awesome.
Second half.
I always like to ask, because sometimes people have me come in the middle, and I try to be careful to not spoil anything, so.
Well, you can spoil it. It's fine.
Okay.
I think, and it sounded like from what everybody was saying ahead of time that most people had read it this time and, had found it difficult to put down, just like Alicia was saying. Yeah. Can I ask? Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll go next.
No, I was actually just wondering what you like to read. Like, do you like to read in your spare time? Is that a form of self-care for you? And if so, what do you like to read?
Yes, I love to read. I've always been a reader. I have found myself not reading as much in the past several years, but I've rekindled my relationship with books. So the most recent book I read was The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. So I had not read a fiction novel in so long. I read her book in 2 days. I was just lost in it. I love Jesmyn Ward's anything that she writes, of course. Kiese Layman, his book Heavy. I'm also slowly making my way through The Untethered Soul. And then I've been reading a book about venture capital, because that's one of the pivots that I'm about to make. So yeah, but I've totally rekindled my love for fiction. So through Britt's book.
Wow. That's amazing. Sorry, who was going to ask a question? Didn't mean to.
I wanted to ask I wanted to ask a quick question. First of all, I agree with everyone. I think the book is so beautifully written. I actually listened to it, and the reader's great, by the way. And
Thank you.
yeah, there were times I just think your writing is so beautiful. The way you storytell, or you tell the stories of these people, and like Alicia said, who had this one flaw, and you humanize them and you write so beautifully about them. And I agree. I feel like I came out really loving all the character, or all the people. So my question for you is, when did you write this book? We're talking about you being superhuman, and how were you taking notes along the way? Did you know you were going to write this book? Because you obviously, go back to your childhood and, go to the current time. So I'm just curious about your process.
Well, thank you for all your kind words. I did not know I was going to write a book. I never would have imagined I would write a book. It took me 2 years to finish the book, I pitched the original proposal to publishers without chapters 1 through 5. I was going to start the book with meeting Sharonda Jones, and I was really pushed to go back, and show the foundation, things I had gone through. And so that was a new aspect of it. I wrote the book, sometimes you do things so much, and I think this is like part of my life that I'm working to get better at, but it's like if you stop to think about it, all the balls will fall. So I really, I got through writing it just through grace. And a part that was helpful for me is I look at my book and I approach my book, even though it's a memoir, but to me, it's a love letter. It's a love letter to my mama.
Yeah.
It's a love letter to my family and to all of the clients I mentioned in the book. And so taking that approach of writing this love letter, I was very intentional with every sentence, every word, every punctuation mark, because in this love letter, I knew that one word could shift the perspective of the reader about a person in prison in a way that I didn't want it to. So it was definitely a labor of love for me. And it took a while. It took a while.
You did a great job. It definitely was a labor of love.
Thank
It was
you.
very emotional.
Thank you.
Thank you.
2 years is not a while, by the way. 2 years there are a lot of authors who are like, this is my novel that's taken me 14 years. So you're good. You're like not doing so bad. No. Anyway, sorry, I cut somebody off. Who was trying to jump in?
I was just going to say, as a fellow author, I love what you just said about making every word intentional. I think sometimes as writers or as authors, I don't think about the intention of every word as I'm doing it. And so that just kind of inspires me to, words matter. And I write for children, so words especially matter. And I just loved what you said about just intention and that every word matters and that every message of every word matters. So
thank you. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I don't, my editors probably, they appreciate it now, but I pushed back quite a bit, through the editing process, because it was so important to me of like ensuring that there's no mention of the word inmate in my book, unless it was coming from a prison guard, because to change the narrative, we have to use people-centered language, or to make sure I didn't say offender or felon. I was just very particular about it in general. And I know we're approaching like 6 minutes, but I have a quick surprise for everyone. That's another reason why I asked who had read the book, because one of the sweetest victories for me that I'm still processing was my client, Chris Young, is free and he's here. And so he's gonna say hi.
Oh my gosh.
Hello, everyone.
Yay. So everyone who read, saw at the end where Chris was still in prison, and it was just, where did we go from here, right? How do we get him free? And so we had a huge victory through the court in September, where we got his life sentence reduced to 14 years. And then he received clemency a couple of weeks ago from Donald Trump. And so that got him across the finish line.
You had posted about that on Facebook, because I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah.
I said, yeah. So I didn't know he was going to be here today, but I knew I knew you had taken.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Amazing.
You are so motivating, and you overcame so many adversities. And I have a 17-year-old son, and he's dealing with a lot of adversities, and I get exposed to a lot of kids who have less than enough. And what can I, you made it, and what can I say to these kids? Like, it's who you are. It's not what was done to you. It's who you are. You can still succeed in whatever way is right for you, because you are extremely successful. And maybe not in, you were successful in the traditional way, and then you left and you're successful in another way. So you're successful all over the place. But, what can we say to kids who are like, well, I was dealt a bad hand, and so I'm done? And how do you get through to them?
So I would answer that in two parts. So the first part is, of course, pouring into them what they can do and can be. I can honestly say that my dad poured into me tremendously. Even as he was going through his own addiction, his own issues, he poured into me tremendously, just letting me know that I could do anything, and to really be intentional about it, and to know that nothing was impossible. So pouring into someone with those words to help mold them is very helpful. And what is even more helpful that I didn't have, that I try to do more of now, is even as you're pouring into them with those words, to bring in people who have been in their exact shoes that made it, so that they can see and feel and touch what they can be. And sometimes, it's very difficult if you can't see it. Even for me, like, I wanted to be a lawyer until high school, and just really and honestly felt becoming a lawyer was out of my league. And that was just because I didn't know any. So I think the power of words and the power of proximity.
Can we get Chris Young to come back in the little box there?
Yeah.
I wanted to find out what happens. Like, how does he feel like after going through
totally.
like, the hope, like, how do you find the hope going through this experience, and like, where do you go from here? And,
Well, fortunately for me, I always had a very strong work ethic, and I just fueled any negative feeling or emotion into being something that drove me to keep believing and keep working. So it's an old philosophical saying that says pain is the best mechanism for change. And I used all my pain to just fuel me to keep working out, to keep reading, and to keep reaching out. And I'm fortunate that some people believed in me, such as Brittany. Miss Brittany K. Barnett has been more than an attorney. She's been a lifesaver. And Judge Sharp, fortunately, I was able to impress him in his courtroom and show him my potential, show him I'm a human being and not just someone who made a bad decision.
Wow. Unbelievable. Congratulations, you guys. This is the most inspiring thing ever. Brittany, I mean, you're like an angel. And Chris, this is like, I mean, I have no words. It's amazing.
Thank you, Zibby.
Oh my gosh. You guys, do you want to all like unmute and cheer, or I don't know, something?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm so happy. Keep going.
You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Keep going.
Thank y'all so much for
Thank
reading the
you.
book and just even having this discussion, because it is truly an issue that impacts us all.
well, and good luck, Chris, to you. So
Good luck.
Good luck, Chris. Thank you.
You all have
sharing your
I appreciate
stories.
you for wanting to talk to me.
What's that?
What did he say?
He said he appreciates y'all for wanting to speak with
Oh
him.
my
Of
God.
course. Oh my gosh.
Of course, yes,
Wow.
We're-
miracle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
bye,
Bye.
Chris. Good luck. It was good seeing you.
Bye-bye.